Christy. So I
Right.
don't know what you're gonna talk about either. So we're just gonna go into it, and we're just gonna make it work.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You synergize off each other. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
all right. So, what's up, you heathens and demons? You beautiful, blasphemous people. Let me see. I know this one guy's in my chat talking smack. I don't like pro-lifers. This one guy, you've lost points. You've lost points. Um, today we have Stargazelle and Sassy Atheist, and they're gonna be talking about abortion. And I'm gonna pipe in, and then I'm gonna be coming with some brutality at the end, maybe. So we'll see what happens. But I'm looking forward to this discussion. Welcome, and go ahead and introduce yourselves and do your thing. I'm just gonna sit back and watch. Well, and to preface real quick, I'm a big advocate that men should have an opinion, but their opinion is less than a woman's. So I'm really looking forward to hearing the woman's opinion on this issue. On this issue.
You can start it off,
Yep,
Christy.
go for it.
Oh,
Go for it.
hey, I'm Christy. My Twitter handle is @stargazelle_. So you can call me Christy if you want. Fun fact: I date Objectively Dan from the ATA's Truth Wanted. I'm from Alabama, so all of this abortion stuff is like all over everything right now, and it's a lot. But I'm just I don't really have a YouTube channel, but I do have a blog. It's called Good After God. If you want to look at that, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
I just started that. Yeah, I just started that about a month ago. So I really like doing that. It's a lot of fun. So go
Cool.
check that out, and that's all I have to say so far.
Yeah, everybody go check that out. That sounds. You said Good After God.
Mm-hmm.
All right, yeah, that sounds interesting. All right, what's up, Sassy, friend of the channel?
Hi everyone, I'm Sassy Atheist. I have my own YouTube channel, Sassy Atheist, where I share, I post many different videos about many different things like religion, abortion, politics, and other things as well. And you can also check me out at Sassy Atheist 19 on Twitter, and that's about it.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, nice to meet you. What's interesting is we have two different perspectives getting to the same place, or at least two people in very different places getting to the same place, I believe, because Sassy was telling me she's from New Hampshire, which is one of the most, I guess, liberal states when it comes in regards to abortion, and Christy is from Alabama, which everybody knows about right now. So yeah, y'all go ahead. This is going to be an interesting conversation, and I will pipe in if I feel like I have some input.
Well, why don't you start then?
I'm sorry.
Why don't you start?
Okay. Well, so first off, I want to say that my state in New Hampshire and also Vermont, which is like right next door, we are basically the most. We support abortion. We don't have any bans on it, so a woman can safely and do it if she needs to, and that's about it for my state,
Yeah.
But I actually did a lot of research about it, and I have a list of states about concerning the abortion ban, which is Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, Indiana, Kentucky, Mississippi, Missouri, New York, Ohio, Utah, North Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, and Delaware, which is considering new laws, and Florida is under that. Idaho, Illinois, Louisiana, Massachusetts, Montana, Minnesota, New Mexico, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, South Carolina, Wisconsin, and that's about it.
Those are all of the ones with bans?
The ones that I was just mentioning, those were considering a new law. But the ones before, like obviously like Alabama, right, Arkansas, Georgia, those are the ones that have already are going to be passing new laws.
Right. So I've been researching this the Alabama one a little bit because I mean obviously since I live here it very well could affect me.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, there's a 6 month like buffer period until the actual law will go into effect.
Yeah.
But even with the previous laws, there were not really that many places that you could go around here to get one. There's like not very many. I think there's 2 Planned Parenthoods in Alabama, and then there's like a couple other like places that will offer stuff like that, but it's not really like a common thing. There's not like one in every city or anything. So
Yeah.
that kind of sucks, and so it's going to be even worse. If somebody has to make that decision and needs to have that done, where are they going to go?
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing about the South. It's one of the reasons why I left the South is because it's all through the South. In North Carolina, it's very hard to find an abortion clinic, and people will come up north if they can. The one thing is, I do believe the ACLU has just filed a lawsuit against Alabama, so
Yes, they did.
so it shouldn't become law until after the court. But
Right.
but as you said, it doesn't really matter because it's so hard to get one anyway.
But what I understand is that in Georgia, it says that the state currently bans abortions at the 20-week mark, but in light of the new law, an abortion could be banned as early as 6 weeks into pregnancy. Most women, majority of the time, don't even know they're pregnant. So at that stage, so that just makes no sense. So it's gonna be banned before they can even find out that they're pregnant, and and with this heartbeat bill, I mean, it's just ridiculous. The fetus is not even developed yet, to start developing a heart. It's what do I want to call it? I read it somewhere. Give me a sec.
So yeah, it's like it's not a developed heart anyway.
Yeah.
It's just like a very basic structure.
Yeah. Yeah, the 6-week heartbeat is an electrical pulse indicating where the heart will eventually develop. So it's just, I find that whole bit ridiculous, and I don't know how they can form a law against, have a heartbeat abort a bill when at 6 weeks the fetus hasn't even developed a heart yet.
Right, and a lot of people fail to realize that pain and stuff comes from the brain and the nervous system, and at 6 weeks this fetus or it can't feel any pain anyway, first of all.
Yeah.
And so the people that are saying, oh my gosh, it like goes away from the suction tube or whatever, at that stage I don't think they use a suction tube. They do the pill.
Yeah. I actually have like a pregnancy website, and shows like pictures and the stages of throughout the pregnancy, and I mean, for week 6, the picture it's just like a clump. It's not even. It's the size of a pea, and it's just starting to develop a face that's taking shape, and so it's still a fetus, and it can't survive outside of the mother, the womb. And how can they call it a baby when it's not even hasn't even fully developed yet? That's what
Yeah, well, Cyrus, one of my friends, Cyrus a Skeptic on YouTube, he actually put out a really good video about this like pretty recently, and I watched it today, and it's really great. I don't know if he's going to see this or not, but if he does, hello.
Good chance. He's a good friend.
Well, yeah, Cyrus is really cool. But he put out a really, really good video about this that I watched today. So if y'all haven't watched that, I would highly recommend it. It's a great video. It's really, really good. But being from around the South, there's not a whole lot of people that oppose this bill or in this law, which is
Wow.
awful. It's awful. Like, there's
Wow.
people around my age do oppose it, but there's a lot of locals that really, really support it. And, when I'm on like Facebook or on reading the news on something,
Yeah.
most of the comments are from older people, and they're all saying like, "Praise God, so proud to be from Alabama. This is so great. This is great news." And it's just awful, because it all comes from religion, right? So most of the arguments that I've seen from around here that are supporting it are religiously based. And I don't think that's okay because, our government is a secular government. So, that's not okay to like enforce your religious beliefs on other people.
Exactly. And I also just read. I just found this out earlier that the Supreme Court allows Indiana to require burial of the fetus remains.
I just saw about that, yeah.
Yeah, and that's just so ridiculous.
It's a blatant attempt. It's a blatant attempt to make a mother feel even more guilty.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
disgusting. It's absolutely
Yeah.
disgusting.
And I would like to give a shout out to what the craft who was at Terra Firma. She sent me this link because I didn't know about it until she mentioned it. Apparently, in Missouri, the last remaining abortion clinic says it expects to be shut down this week, effectively ending legal abortions in the state because the health department in Missouri is refusing to renew the annual license to provide abortion in the state. And if it's not renewed by May 31st, it will become the first state without a functioning abortion clinic since 1973 when Roe versus Wade was decided.
Yep. Some group, I can't remember the name of the group, just sued Missouri for that.
Yeah,
No, Planned Parenthood sued Missouri for that. Yeah. I was just reading that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I couldn't believe it when I saw that. And like, Jesus, bro.
And Stargazelle is exactly right. This is my main issue, and why I think whether you're pro-life, pro-choice, if you're an atheist or agnostic, you should be up in arms about this, is because this is an attempt by religion to infiltrate our democracy. They are using religious rationale for some reason, which it's not even really in the Bible. I know you're going to speak about that, but that's my main problem with all of it. I'm pro-choice politically, but even beyond that, this is an attack on our democracy, and everybody should be up in arms on that because there is a clear separation of church and state. Thomas Jefferson enshrined that in our government, not in the Constitution, but in his letters. So there is a clear separation of church and state, and this is an assault on our democracy.
Yeah,
I also think. Oh, sorry. You go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I have to think about it more.
Well, something that I've kind of noticed is that a lot of people that identify as like conservative or Republican really tend to favor like smaller government, right? So having this law, and it kind of seems a little bit hypocritical to me because it seems like, oh, we want the government to enforce this, but not anything else. And that just seems a little bit like, well, I mean, that kind of seems like big government if you're making the rules for everybody else,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then weird.
And they're supposed to be against big government. But go ahead, Sassy.
Right.
And what I agree and I believe is that religious people, they're not pro-life, they're pro-birth. A lot of times they don't even. They don't care if they cared about pro-life, then religious people, instead of trying to prevent women from seeking abortion, they would be helping homeless children who are starving. If they cared about life, then they would be helping those who are alive and are suffering.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Yeah, and it's just, when I was a Christian, there was really no other reason for being pro-life except for believing that it was that was against God. It was against what the Bible said. That was like my only reason for being pro-life. And after I became an atheist, I studied more. I watched the Roe versus Wade documentary, and it just opened my eyes, and I felt sympathetic, and I realized that it should be a right, and it should not we should not be prevented from being able to do something with our own body.
Well,
And
yeah, I find it pretty odd that, down south you have your constitutionalists who are always talking about the founding fathers and the right to bear arms. It's the founding fathers. Well, abortion was legal in this country when our country was founded. It was legal for decades after our country was founded. It didn't become illegal until the 1850s, and it was only illegal roughly for 130 years, 140 years. And even in that time, you had states and people being very active against the anti-abortion laws, because back then they were very, very strict. And then eventually, like even before Roe v. Wade, 17 states had changed their anti-abortion laws. So, I mean, abortion has been a thing in this country since its beginning. Before this country began, it was a thing. And it's never really been about abortion. It's about unwanted pregnancy. Nobody talks about that. They only talk about abortion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's just and most religious people are so concerned about what the woman is doing, and saying that she's a murderer, but fail to acknowledge that everyone that either bombed, vandalized, or hurt abortion doctors or the woman who was seeking abortion were all religious people, because it went against God and went against the Bible. Everyone that attacked them were religious. So they fail to acknowledge that. They don't talk about that, and therefore they don't say that is wrong. They shouldn't be doing that. But it's just all about how the woman is terrible. She doesn't, she's heartless, and she doesn't care about the fetus, which isn't even a baby.
Oh, yeah. I had a friend down in North Carolina went to get an abortion, and she got beat to within an inch of her life outside of that abortion clinic by Christian protesters. They beat the shit out of her. She almost died, and she lost the baby. I mean, they killed the baby. It was bad down there back then. I don't know. I'm glad I got away.
And
get out of Alabama, Stargazelle.
Anyway, Texas.
And it's just I researched it, and I found this. I didn't really hear about this specific terrorist group, but it's called the Army of God. Is a Christian terrorist organization that is engaged in the use of anti-abortion violence in the United States to fight against abortion. According to this, the group has committed acts of kidnapping, attempted murder, and murder. And it goes on to it shows a picture of a person who's part of it, and they hold up like the sign that says Army of God, and it shows a Bible verse, which is Proverbs 24, chapter 24, verse 10 through 12. And that is, if you falter in a time of trouble, how small is your strength? Rescue those being led away to death. Hold back those staggering towards slaughter. So they're using that Bible verse to say it's okay to commit these crimes, all because of what a book said. And the earliest documented evidence of the Army of God being involved with anti-abortion activity occurred in 1982. 3 men stating that they were the Army of God kidnapped a guy who was a doctor who performed abortions, and they kidnapped his wife and held them hostage, and for like 8 days.
Oh my gosh.
And it also says the East Coast Division of the Army of God claimed responsibility when 3 men, including Michael Bray, I think that's like pronounced his last name, planted bombs at 7 abortion clinics in Maryland, Virginia, and Washington, D.C. in 1985. So this is an example of how much violence religious people have caused and what they're still doing now. I mean, I don't know if this terrorist group still exists now. I don't know, but it's just a prime example of why religious people should not interfere with women's rights over their own body just because of what a stupid book says.
Well, yeah, and that's just one verse.
Yeah.
You know, God doesn't have a problem killing impregnated women. He did it in the flood. I mean, think of how many women were pregnant when he killed everybody but Noah. Or what about when he killed Sodom and Gomorrah? All of those pregnant women and those fetuses obliterated to ash. I mean, God has no problem with it.
Yeah, and exactly. That's another reason, the thing that, you know, a lot of Christians fail to acknowledge, and or the, you know, because of the contradiction. It's, you know, they're against abortion, but yet they don't have a problem with the God who wiped the entire earth, only except for Noah and his family, and he killed babies, like under 2 or something, or baby boys in the plague in Egypt.
Yeah, all the firstborn children. I don't think it mattered how old you were. If you were,
it doesn't matter. Yeah, I was thinking. I was thinking of King Herod when he went.
But yeah, there's so many instances. It's crazy.
Yeah,
there's a verse in the Bible where I don't remember what it is, but it is where God basically instructs someone to perform an abortion, and it's basically some kind of like medicinal water or drink. I don't know. I can't tell you the verse right off the top of my head, but I have seen it a bunch of times.
I was telling Sassy that before.
People.
I was telling Sassy that before you came in that man, there's this one passage that tells women how to do abortions and gives you the circumstances when you can do abortions, and I can never remember the passage or find it when I'm looking for it, and I didn't even try to look for it today.
Yeah. Another thing that I think is a big issue, you know, first of all, I don't think religious people are bad in general. I think that religion can have harmful ideas, and people can take things to way too far of an extreme. And when they're using that religion to actively hurt other people, even if they don't realize it, I think that's when it's a problem. And, you know, because I have family that's religious, and none of them would ever think of doing anything like that. And, you know,
I have mixed feelings, because I mean, yes, I do agree that I believe that not all religious people are, you know, bad and, you know, have bad intentions, but there are a lot of them that are bad people and that use the Bible to just promote their hatred and bigotry and against others.
Anybody can go back in my video log and see how anti-theist I was, and I've been talking about it a lot, and people tell me different things on it. Ultimately, I think that the bad voices are the loudest ones. I think generally most Christians generally are good people. Now, on this issue, I think most Christians are wrong, but I don't think they come at it from a position of malice. I think they genuinely can't see the hypocrisy of supporting a God that would do Sodom and Gomorrah, or even how they talk about Sodom and Gomorrah, or they talk about the flood, but they don't associate that, they hate killing fetuses. They don't associate that part of those stories. They just glorify it because God did it. You know, so I just don't think that they really think about it. And the more people that talk about it, it raises conscious awareness. So more and more people are at least affected by it. But I do agree. Like I think it was a bad place that I was in. But I think it's a natural place. I think when you're new to atheism, you're new to the emotions, because you realize you've been lied to by a lot of people, and there's negative connotations in that. But the thing that you start to realize for me, it took years. But the thing you start to realize after time is that they were lied to too. They were telling you the truth, but the truth that they knew was a lie. So I don't think it's a place of malice for most, but on this issue, it's definitely most of them are wrong, and they refuse to hear reason.
Yeah, at times, I mean, it's really hard sometimes to tell what like who the person really is and what their real intentions are,
Oh,
especially
nobody
without
can
personally,
truly.
yeah, especially without knowing them personally, or um even then it's just but I mean, like a lot of my religious family members, I mean, they're not bad people. They may, you know, believe in the Bible and have religious beliefs towards certain things, but they're not bad people. And but there are a lot of those who are just
Oh yeah,
just naturally horrible people.
yeah, and
And
they have the loudest
applying
voice.
to a comment to an intellectual bot, I didn't say, if you're referring to what I was saying, I did not say that there are bad people, well, yes, there are bad people everywhere, but not everyone is bad. And and that person goes and say,
Well,
"Oh, God punished sinners, so that makes baby murder okay." Um, well, oh my God.
yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't been paying too much attention to chat, but you'll develop
I
a
can't
thick
even see
skin
it.
with trolls, Sassy. It comes with time. You know,
Yeah.
my first death threat, I freaked out. I'm on like 200 now. It's nothing.
I actually received. I think I received my first, technically a death threat. It was from someone who was against abortion and really was in a disagreement with me, and said that I should abort myself. So I guess you can.
So dumb.
Yeah, it's toxic language. They can't have a legitimate argument, and that's the thing. Like
Exactly.
that's the thing about this topic, and I think that people use it because it's such a hot button topic.
Yeah.
And then you go to your Sunday service, and your preachers are just filling you with this false narrative. You
Yeah.
think that you're killing human beings. You're not.
Yeah. Instead of looking at the science and the
Shannon
facts.
Q put it the best I have ever heard it when she was on Non Sequitur not too long ago. That up to a certain point, that child is a parasite to a woman,
Yeah.
and we don't have discussions about killing any other parasite. Why are we even having this discussion? It doesn't make. I mean, she really killed it. Like she made the best point I've ever heard in my life.
Hmm.
I think a big issue is bodily autonomy. A lot of people that kind
He's
of
like, I'm sorry.
oppose
He's
the
like, what the
law.
fuck? He's comparing my comments with death threats. No, I was talking about my death threats, dude. If you follow my channel, you'd know about them. So shut up. All right, go ahead.
No, bodily autonomy is kind of a big thing. As for one of the arguments, a lot of the people that oppose it have been saying, okay, well, how a lot of people, when they support, they say my body, my choice. And a lot of people that are against abortion will say, well, it's not your body, it's the baby's body, it's a separate body. But at the same time, I can understand that. But Cyrus put it in a really good way. I don't remember exactly what he said, but he had a really good analogy that he had gotten from a book that he read. And it was basically like, should you be forced to give your kidney to someone that needs it? Like, no, like, would you? Maybe. But does that person have the right to just take it from you? No. So, that fetus is not, it is a separate body, but it is inside of your body. And you have the right to do whatever is in your body.
And it's not a human being. Like at a certain point, I can see the argument for it to become a human being. But clearly in the Bible is very clear about what a human being is. When you take the first breath of life, you are a human being. It says it clearly in the Bible. But I will grant, all right, so we have science now. We know things. So at a certain point, that thing, it becomes a human being. But until then, it's not. It's not. You are having a medical procedure, and I'm going to get into some of that, of how it was before Roe v. Wade. But you're having a medical procedure. It's your right to have this medical procedure, and you have the right to have the best medical procedure that you can have. This should not even be an argument, but it is because of religion. And that is it, and that is all.
Yeah. It's just, and you're going to find that there are going to be some, or maybe even a lot of women who are going to have a very unsafe abortion if when if these laws pass, and it's going to be like before. You're going to find women being in an alley doing it herself, or being it somewhere having someone do it for her. It's going to be like before. And this is why they made abortion legal, that when they did Roe versus Wade, it was because of that too. And they realized that it should be a woman's right to have legal procedure in abortion if she chooses to not have a child.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what my research was coming into this, was what happened before Roe v. Wade. And before you hear about the back alley butchers, they were called abortionists. You hear about those stories, but you don't hear like that it was really a matter of class back then. So if you were a wealthy woman, if you came from a lot of money, you could get a legal abortion. You could get top-notch medical care and get rid of an unwanted pregnancy. But if you were not, and that was the vast majority of people, it was almost impossible to get a legal abortion. So you had to go to these abortionists, and everybody's heard those stories. And if you haven't, you're probably a pro-lifer, because it was atrocious. I mean, it was absolutely, women were dying. In 1930, the estimates were in the 50s and 60s that from 200,000 to 1.2 million women died per year. There's one estimate that in North Carolina alone in 1967, 829,000 women died from illegal abortions. It was an epidemic. And that's why states started overturning those anti-abortion laws. Because, I mean, if they weren't, some women weren't even going to abortionists. They were using coat hangers, and they were killing them, basically.
Oh, yeah.
So there's very good reasons why we have this law. Nobody's talking about that. They're talking about, but God. That's all I hear.
Yeah, exactly.
It drives me nuts.
Did you guys hear what KIV said regarding
yeah, I think breaking up just a little bit, Christy.
And I quote, when KIV signed the bill, she said, to the bill's many supporters, this legislation stands as a powerful testament to Alabama's deeply held belief that every life is precious and that every life is a sacred gift from God. Which, she's speaking for all of Alabama, and that is not true. There are more, even non-Christian, non-religious people. Not everyone, even among Christians, not everyone believes the same way.
No, and I just don't even see how you can bring God into a political argument. I mean, you're trying to make legislation based on Christian law that doesn't exist. It's not even there. It's really atrocious. I'm glad I'm not in Alabama, because I saw a Godless Engineers video where he got out of his car and and all he did, I watched most of it. I don't think I saw the end of it, but I'm quite sure that at the end of it, Godless Engineer didn't just start beating their asses. But now they're saying that he assaulted them, and that he incited violence against them, and somebody tried to run him over with a car, and it's his fault. I'm like, you guys they're just crazy. And if I was down there, I'd be getting out of my car and probably fighting.
Sorry to get off topic, but there's someone in the chat room that asked for Christy to stop and refresh her because it's sounding awful.
Yeah, it did break up the last time she talked, but then it got better last time. But yeah, you might want to try to refresh, Christy.
Well, I'm on my phone, so that's probably part of the issue, and our Wi-Fi is super great. Our signal's not too great here. Yeah. So I'm not sure how to refresh on my phone.
Let me see. Maybe drop out and come back in.
All right.
Try that. Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting discussion so far. Going really good, I think.
Yeah, like I said, I tried to do a lot of research.
Yeah, I did a little bit. I'm fairly familiar with the topic just because I'm very politically active. I'm a little behind on my politics because I've just been crazy busy. Um, but I'm very familiar with this topic. I've been arguing abortion politics for about
Mhm.
15 years.
Yeah,
So,
and it's just America used to be for so many years, a place where you can be free and you can do what you want and live in peace. But now it's just you can't. Now they're stopping basic rights, human rights for someone, for a group of, and just it's just ridiculous. And it,
mhm. Yeah, it
I
is, and they need to at least think about. You would think that they would think about as a party the damage this is going to do to them moving forward. Because as Christy said, most of the younger people in Alabama are probably against this. So
yeah.
future generations are going to hold you accountable for what you're doing right now.
Yeah. And there was I can't remember what the name of the person on Twitter, but she it was a while back. She basically said that, religious people should be banned. They should not be in politics. I mean, I slightly disagree. You can be religious, but just don't push it. Don't use that and bring it into politics. You can be in politics and be religious at the same time, but don't mold them together. Don't bring your beliefs into politics.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And that's hard to do, but you should at
yeah,
least try not to
yeah,
do it.
exactly, yeah,
And most, at least the non-religious, I think most secular atheists try to do that. We try to not allow our beliefs into our politics, which our beliefs aren't religious, but I don't try to, I try to come from things politically, not because I'm
yeah,
an atheist, where they just totally just don't even make any attempt whatsoever.
exactly, yeah, and exactly like my mostly when my views about the abortion, it's mostly it comes from what is fact, and and part of it, oh yes, it I personally believe that too, but mostly it comes from science and the facts about
Mhm.
abortion and about the baby or the fetus and what happens, and just but like you said, it just they don't
Yeah.
they just apply their personal religious beliefs and think that that's how it should be for everyone.
Yeah, well, there are legitimate political arguments against abortion. And the last person I would ever bring into this conversation is Saka, because he would sit here and he makes really valid points, and he's right leaning and probably one of the most logical people I've ever met. And I don't like talking politics with Saka because it's so difficult to really combat him because, which of course, if you've ever seen Saka argue, he will convince you of just about anything. But so there are legitimate political reasons, and I'm fine with that. Let's have that political discussion. But when it becomes religious reasons, that's where my fundamental issues come from. Like I enjoy political talks with Republicans about abortion. The problem is that you just Saka's pretty much the only one that'll have that political discussion because it always becomes a religious discussion.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't, I mean, if you expect for things to change and you can't force your own personal opinions into it. You have to make your viewpoints known and try to have be a common ground with others based on the facts and
Wait,
based on yeah.
sorry, Omarosa, I agree. I think pretty much any point against abortion is crap. Just Saka says it really good. Go ahead.
It's just and my and part of my views on abortion isn't just because I'm a female. It's because it's just basic. It's right. It's human rights for a female. It's it has to do with her her body and it's not and in a lot of cases what do a lot of Christians, need to. They don't even. A lot of sometimes don't even care, if the woman was raped or it was caused by if a child if she became pregnant because of incest or rape they still go the full term, do it, and you can't be moral and expect for that child to carry a baby, to be pregnant when they're a baby themselves.
Yeah, and I was just reading a study. Like most of the abortions in this country, actually, I mean, and just logically thinking, because atheists and agnostics, I mean, we're such a small minority of this country. Christians are overwhelmingly the majority of this country. The vast majority of abortions are performed by Christians. I mean, I was just reading that fact. I mean, and then you get down into the southern states, it's overwhelming that Christians are the ones getting these abortions. So, I mean, it's okay when it's their family, or it's okay if it's their mistress because they don't want their wife to find out. But it's not okay for the 16-year-old girl in high school because, well, God, it's ridiculous. It's all hypocrisy. It's been proven just wrong so many times. I get emotional about it. And I shouldn't, because it's not even my body, I'm 42 years old. I'm never going to have another child, so but I get pissed off over it.
Yeah. And to answer your question, intellectual bot, I do know what a human is. And guess what? It's not a fetus.
Yeah, well, yeah, you'll learn.
What I
like to do with the trolls is I troll them back. Like if I was really into the chat, he'd be really mad at me right now because I do such disrespectful shit that he'd have no choice but to leave.
I'm trying not to be disrespectful. It just boils my blood.
You got to troll the trolls. You got to troll them. Just troll them back. Have fun.
I try to be respectful with that at the same time while just my blood is boiling.
You'll learn. You can't. I mean, go back and you don't even have to go back that long. Just check out my comment section. There's a good chance you'll see somebody talking about how my daughter needs to be saved for me. How they say the worst things, but I have fun with it. I have so much fun with it, and they usually are the ones that end up leaving mad. So,
if you have to make a comment like say that to another human being about their child, then you really need to check your own life and check and to see check out your morals, because that is not moral to.
It is one of the drawbacks of this whole social media age, I think, is people have this unrestrained voice. They don't have to worry about getting punched in the face. They can say whatever they want to say. To most people's faces, they would never say these awful things, but they do, and they feel comfortable. That's why I like to get just as awful back. That's my thing, though.
And it's just, I mean, I've dealt with a lot of hateful comments on both sides. I dealt with hateful comments as a Christian, and I dealt with hateful comments as an atheist. And as what a Christian, I was told by some atheists that I should be sterilized, and just really cruel things like that, just because, and it was because of a comment that I had made of my views towards gender neutral bathroom. I can't quite remember exactly what I said, but it just it stirred up a whole lot of angry people, and that's that's what one part of a few atheists that has said to me, and I just you can't say that. If you expect a Christian or any religious person to think on the logical side and to see their wrongdoings, then you can't at the same time insult them or tell them to be sterilized. I mean, there are a lot of hateful Christians that
well, it seems like there's two topics that really get Christians into a bad state, and that is guns and abortion. Some of the best Christians I know, really good Christians, when it comes to abortion, say really, really awful stuff. and they have no qualms with hurting or making people cry. I mean, just emotionally abusing people, when it comes to guns or abortion. And they're compassionate people until it comes to guns or abortion. It's something I've noticed about society. Like, and I think our politicians have pushed that, on both sides, they've pushed it. They try to divide us to where you don't even think rationally about these subjects anymore. You just get so vitriolic that you can't even have a healthy discussion anymore. That's why, I don't even really like having pro-lifers on for debates on the topic, because you're not going to get anywhere. You're just
And to answer intellectual bot, what wrongdoings? What is Sassy talking about? I'm talking about my wrongdoings that I did when I was a Christian. I said that I was homophobic. I was transphobic. I told atheists, unbelievers, that they're going to go to hell if they didn't believe in God. So yeah, those are wrongdoings, and so I can understand why a lot of people were angry at me, but at the same time, you can't be a cruel person yourself if you're calling me out for being one. So
I think that I want to jump in here.
Yeah, go for it.
2 things I wanted to say. I think that the cruelty can kind of happen on both sides, and I see it a lot in the atheist community, and that's something that I really think should change, because we're all coming from a place, we all believe we're coming from a place of good, and the way that we interact with people, if we're mean to them, that's not going to change their mind any more than if we did it in a kind way. And I think we can have conversations that are logical and mind changing, that don't attack each other for like ad hominem attacks. We don't have to attack each other over stuff like that.
I agree. I do see a lot of vitriol on the atheist side too, or on the left side as well. And I agree. You can't, if you find people that are serious to talk about it and you give them facts and they're willing to listen to you, you can have good conversations.
Right.
You just got to avoid the map. You're not gonna have a good conversation, Sassy, if you're talking with Matt Powell or Intellectual Bot, which that's just like an example because he's trolling right now. I don't know the dude personally, but you got to find the right people. And then, I found that a measured approach on these topics are what's best. That's why I don't like talking politics when I've been drinking or any of that stuff, because you get emotional and then it becomes instead of, hey, be calm, give them the facts. If they're listening, facts will change it, maybe.
And also, if while Christy was talking, if you heard me making sounds, it was because it was not because of you. It was because of a comment it was because of a comment that I just read, and I'm trying to bite my tongue from kind of exploding because of the.
I promise you that will get so much better. You'll just learn to not let it even affect you. The longer you're in the public, they're gonna say awful stuff to you. They're gonna make you. They're gonna make you question yourself.
It's not awful. The intellectual bot said the Bible was never homophobic. Do I need to point out all the Bible verses that are homophobic? Seriously, do I need to show you what your own Bible says? That
he's trying to trigger you now. But he's working a number, but it's okay because the fact that he's doing that means that he doesn't like the discussion. He doesn't like people talking about abortion rationally and giving facts, and probably really doesn't like that a dude's sitting here in favor of abortion. That probably triggers him a little bit. But he's probably too scared to attack me, so he's messing with you.
And one verse that basically says for homosexual don't engage in homosexual act is Leviticus 18:22. Thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind, for it is an abomination. And I didn't need to look that up. I remembered it all by myself.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, Dr. Josh.
You said ludicrous.
Dr. Josh breaks it down really good, and he does. It does condemn homosexuality, and without a doubt. But most of the verses are in reference to specific situations, usually incest, and so he breaks it down really good. Go check out his video because interesting. But it definitely condemns homosexuality, calls them abominations. Can't get around that, intellectual bot.
Yeah,
But you'll learn that trolls are trolls. They go away.
And to say, and I hate the phrase "hate the sin, love the sinner," or love the sinner, hate the sin. That is just an excuse to spread your religious views against homophobic people. Oh, I love you, but I hate your lifestyle. I hate that you love your own gender. That's just an excuse. Love the sinner, and
sin doesn't exist.
I'm not gonna, for example, I'm not gonna love someone who murders people and say, "Oh, I love you, but I hate what you're doing."
Yeah. I mean, there's no such thing as sin. This whole concept of, having an abortion is sin. It's not. There's no such thing as sin. If there is sin, exactly. Abortion isn't sin. So what he's doing is he's messing with your head, trying to get you off topic. And don't let him do that, because that's what he wants. He doesn't want to have a rational conversation where abortion is discussed. He wants people to be vitriolic and to get off point. But
sorry. I'm sorry. I just
it happens. You'll get used to it, Sassy.
I used to be a Christian, and just now dealing with people that. I used to think that way. I used to say that stuff, and just now, just hearing or reading someone
that
say
outrage
it.
Part of atheism, you'll find some peace. you'll find some peace.
Yeah, you'll be all right. I do want to throw in about the love the sin, or no, hate the sin, love the sinner.
Mm-hmm.
I think using that about the LGBT community kind of implies that anything other than straightness is a choice, and it's really not.
Exactly.
It's not
Thank
a
you.
choice. Yeah. It took me 21 years to admit to myself that I wasn't straight, but I never chose to not be straight. I never chose to be attracted to women and other genders. I just was, and I had pushed it down so hard that I had convinced myself that I was straight, but that attraction did not go away.
Well, and I don't even think they realize that they're questioning their own sexuality, because I mean, is it a choice for you to be straight? Can you choose otherwise? Like, if you're straight and you have no attraction to a man, can you choose then to be attracted to a man? No.
Yeah, and exactly the same thing with me, Christy. I'm homosexual like all my life. I knew it ever since I was a little girl. There would always be signs, but at that age, I didn't have a name for it. I didn't know what it meant, and I just kept brushing it off. And as I got older and I got into religion, and I was also around some people that had a very strong opinions about LGBTQ community. So I just, every time I tried to come to terms with it, I try to accept it, I would just convince myself that I was straight because of just everything between what I felt that I was being, I was against God, and I also didn't want to be judged by the people around me. So, but after I became an atheist, I finally just accepted my sexuality, and I didn't care. I don't care what anyone else says,
And you changed, Sassy. I changed. I was the same way. I was homophobic. I was staunchly against abortion. I mean, that was murder. It was murder, but I changed. People can change. And that's the thing that I try to promote. And even with people, like absolute douchebags like Matt Powell, like one day, like 10 years from now, Matt Powell might look back and just see how awful he was and just regret it so much, because it happens all the time. It happened to you and it happened to me. So, I mean, these conversations do work, and that's where you got to find your hope, is just look at yourself, because you did it. And if you did it, other people are going to do it.
Yeah. And exactly what my friend Neil, like he said that. I mean, if someone like you
Neil.
who is super yeah, if someone like super religious as you can real and come to such a realization and change your harmful ways, then other people who are in that same position can too.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like right now, and I've been saying this for a while. Donald Trump is a symptom of this. They're making their last grasps right now. Christianity is dying in this country. All the demographics show it.
Yeah.
The millennials are much more progressive. Christie even said, even in Alabama, most of the younger people are against these laws. So they're making their last clutches right now, because they know their time is limited. Their time is numbered. Shit is changing. It already has. They just still have power, and that's going to change. You know, it will. Even in Alabama, even in Georgia, these places are tending. The Republican Party's on the decline. They are a minority party. They just have power, and they're really good at marketing their rhetorics. They're a lot better at it than Democrats are. Democrats, up until now, they finally found a backbone. Just pretty much let them get away with it, but it's about to change. Democrats aren't what they used to be. It's changing slowly but surely. But that doesn't help Alabama right now.
No, because, well, you say it is a minority demographic, but
not in Alabama.
Really not. Around here, I'm the minority.
But I'm sure, like even in Alabama, in the cities, you probably have a more fair mix. But
more or less, I live in a very small town now, but I was raised in a very progressive city. A lot of scientists, that kind of thing. And so it was a little bit more mixed, but at the same time, it was still
there, yeah.
Very highly Republican, very highly Christian.
Yeah, that's how Grand Rapids is. It's Seventh-day Adventists own Grand Rapids, so it's a big city, lots of college kids, so it has its liberal elements, but it's completely ruled by the religion. But yeah, interesting talk. Like I am the scary thing too about young people, because I grew up in North Carolina. We were all liberal compared to our parents, Republican. But now pretty much all of them are their parents. So they went from being righteous and, caring about issues to being on the other side of those issues and staunching it. So, I mean, hopefully that doesn't happen with this generation. I don't think it will, because things are changing. But yeah, you never really, and especially in the South right now, they have it clutched. It's going to be really hard to break it. It almost happened with Stacey Abrams in Georgia. Alabama had its one moment with Doug Jones, and now I'm hearing Roy Moore's.
I mean, I just want.
So there are signs that it's starting to change a little bit. We just got to see how it's going to continue. And I really don't think that they would have put Donald Trump into office and then be putting all of these really far right-wing Christian judges into place if they didn't see the demographics changing, if they weren't afraid of losing their power. So we just got to be persistent.
Yeah, I just want
if more people that are my age would vote,
yeah,
and register to vote, I think that would make a big change, because we are the majority now. It's just that people that are around my age won't go vote.
Yeah, I'm hoping that's different this time. We really need young people to come out. I'm really hoping that people don't think that Trump is so atrocious that they're going to be complacent and think that this is going to be another post-Bush era where the Democrats win this sweeping victory. No, we need young people to vote. We need to get this monster out. We need to change these laws. And that's the thing. Like if people in the South, if the young people in the South really want to make a difference, it's voting. That's the best thing they can do. That's the only thing they can do to make a difference.
I just want to make a clarification. I mean, I guess I have mixed feeling. I believe that I'm not going to stop a man from having an opinion about it, like you, but When it comes to politics and actually uh, forwarding your own like opinions and into laws, that's where it draws a line. I think that men can have an opinion, but just keep it to yourself.
Well, and sadly, I think that's the main problem with these laws, right? Is it's all men passing these laws. I mean, I think maybe Alabama or Georgia, one of the governors was a woman, but it was basically men passing the
Alabama,
law.
the governor is a woman.
Yeah,
But,
so it's probably Alabama I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
But these laws are
all of
written
the
by
senators-
men. I think that if it was an equal blend of women, of course the laws would never get passed. But that would make it at least okay. Maybe I don't. It would be. It would never be okay. Never mind.
Well, here, the governor obviously is a woman, but all of the senators are men, and I
Yeah.
really think that a lot of politicians are kind of in it for money and for reelection, and I think that she probably believes and agrees with the bill, but I think even if she didn't, with all of the people that are supporting her, especially evangelicals, I think she kind of felt like she would have had to support it.
Well, and that is the most, I think, atrocious thing out of all of this is all the women down there that they've got brainwashed into going against themselves. There's so many. My stepmom down in North Carolina is so pro life. I'm like you're a woman. Like how can you be against? How can you be for giving away your rights? And yet she is, and she doesn't look at it like that. It's God to her. It's killing human beings, and I'm like, man, I'll never understand it. I never will. But I am of the opinion that men, yeah, we can have our opinions, but we really shouldn't tell a woman what they can and cannot do. We can, and I've said that often. Like I wouldn't ever want to have an abortion. I would tell my girlfriend that, but ultimately, that's her body. I'm not going to break up with her for taking care of her body, or look at her any different way. I wouldn't want it, but it's not my choice.
Yeah,
I don't even think I don't even think it's a woman's place to tell another woman what to do. I think
neither do I.
No one should tell anyone else what they
neither
can
do
and
I.
can't do, except that decision is with the person with the uterus, whether that's a woman or a trans woman or a trans man or a non-binary person. Anyone with a uterus, the abortion decision should be made by them and their doctor, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think. Why do people care about what other people do? Like I don't want people knowing about my colonoscopy. Like, why do you care about a woman's abortion? I don't get it.
And and there's just and also is that we of course we're not always going to agree with maybe every single reason behind an abortion, but that still doesn't mean that that's our place to force someone to not have it just because we may.
Yeah, and these are very hard decisions. Like I've known women that have gotten abortions and seeing them for months after, years after, they're dealing with that, and no consideration for any of the women. Like before this conversation started, I was watching interviews from women that got abortions before Roe v. Wade, and just how awful it was back then, and like no consideration for pushing us back to that era. No consideration for the hardest. Like these women, a lot of these women, they're struggling with the fact that maybe they killed somebody. It is such a hard decision, and you're not making it any easier on them by getting in their face and calling them murderers. Because they're not. They're naturally going through emotions and feeling regret, and there's a toll on the body from it. And why are we making this worse on them instead of helping them, and instead of giving them the best possible care that they could have? I don't understand. In 2019, I don't understand.
Yeah, and we don't know what a woman is mentally and emotionally going through if she has to have an abortion, whether it's like a health complication, or something happened and she chooses to do it, and you still don't know. Some people think that it's a quick decision, like, oh, I'm gonna have an abortion, let's get it done, get it over with. They think that women don't think about this, that they don't put any kind of thought into it.
Yeah.
Obviously they do.
Yeah,
And
I hate it when they say people use it for birth control. I have never met a human, like, why would anybody put themselves through that process for birth control?
Right.
You know, just the physical part of it, not to mention the mental part, just the physical toll on your body. Go on with that. Like, they will say anything to make a point that isn't even legitimate. I've never met a person like that.
Yeah, and if if a lot of religious people are going to be talking about and being against abortion, then please do, and then help, and give young people or everyone an education about it. Provide provide everything they need to help prevent pregnancy, unwanted pregnancy. But no, you don't see that doing. They're just attacking the woman and not doing anything to maybe help prevent a lot of unwanted pregnancies, like teen pregnancy.
Oh yeah.
And,
Yeah, they don't even. It's not. They don't stop at abortion. They then go on to attack contraception. You know, so all the data shows that with contraception in this modern era, easy access to contraception reduces abortion rates dramatically, and yet they attack that. That if you outlaw abortion, you're not going to get rid of it. They're going to do the same thing they did before, and go to back out.
History is going to repeat itself if the. Yeah.
But if you promote contraception and sex education in schools, the data clearly shows that abortion rates drops exponentially. So, but they don't care about that. They don't care about that. They want to be able to make women do what they want to do because God says a man is above a woman, and a woman. When they say make America great again, they want to make women in their place again. That's what they're talking about. Put women in their place again. Fuck that. I reject it.
Yeah.
Sorry, Christy. I've been trying not to cuss.
I don't mind.
Yeah, I mean, and what I also just don't like seeing is that a lot in these nowadays you see a lot of teenagers kind of glorifying their pregnancy, and and a lot of them don't even know what diseases that you can get if you're unprotected, or that things can happen even if you do use protection. Things can happen. There have been condoms that have been if non-effective, and something went wrong, like it was a hole in it or something, and a woman ended up getting pregnant, or even if they're on birth control. If you're on birth control, that doesn't stop getting HIV. It just prevents you from getting pregnant. Even that doesn't always work. So a lot of these younger people, they need to know everything about it, everything about sex, and and it's still ridiculous how it's still taboo to talk about a lot of times, and a lot of parents don't have the conversation with their children, and they wonder why when some of them are pregnant. It's like, well, you didn't have to talk with them.
Even me, I consider myself liberal and progressive, and I've come so far from my Christian conservative days, but I still had that old school thinking when it came to my daughter. She's 9 and she has diabetes. We just went to her doctor and talking about puberty. And I'm like, well, that's a discussion mom can have with her. And he's like, no, that's a discussion you're going to have with her too, because she needs to know she can come to you about these things, but there's that old school way of thinking, like even me, this progressive guy still has it in my head. Oh, that's the woman's job. That's her mom's role. No, it's not. We're human beings. She needs to know she can come and talk to me. Just because I'm a man doesn't mean I can't have that conversation.
Yeah. I'll be exiting out. I'll still be in, but I'll just be muting my thing. I have to do something.
Oh yeah,
I'll be
yeah.
gone for a few minutes.
I'm figuring about 12 more minutes, maybe a
Okay.
little longer.
I'll be back.
Telltale Atheist
Well.
is on Non Sequitur tonight, and he's my favorite YouTuber.
Oh, he's super nice. I love him.
Yeah, I like his logic. His logic is awesome.
Yeah, he's super nice. Inquisitive Quandary, I've talked to them before. He's really cool. He mentioned abstinence-only sex education. And I don't know if you grew up with something like that, but that's what I grew up with. You know,
Me
mine
too,
was like 50 minutes in gym. And basically we were just kind of told, we like watched some movie or something. I think it was like 2 days that we did.
Yeah,
we did
that
adult.
sounds exactly like mine.
Yeah, and one day I wasn't there. I had like a dentist appointment or something, and it was in like 7th grade. And the day that I was there, I think they basically were just like, yeah, the best way to do this is to not have sex, and then that's like all they told us.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, that's what they told us,
else.
and all of us football players looked around at each other and were like, "Too late." We started doing that in junior high.
Right. And I mean, our talk was in junior high. I mean, it was.
Ours was in high school. Yeah, we weren't doing that in junior high. No way. Yeah. No. In fact, they brought in a trailer and put it out behind our high school to have the sex ed class, and it was 2 days, and it was basically you don't have sex, go.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah. I mean, that's really.
Right. Tatted, you always come in when it's not. No, we're about to finish up. Tatted philosophy always comes in. It's like, you never call me. But no, this was just pretty much a closed conversation, Tatted, about abortion. And about 10 minutes, I'm going to be getting off, going and checking on my daughter and checking her blood and all that stuff. Watching. I got like so many videos to watch, like RR, Rachel Oates, all this stuff is coming out.
Yeah.
This is a great conversation. I think we covered a lot of ground. I think new points came. I really liked your perspective being in Alabama, contrasted with Sassy's perspective being in New Hampshire, because it's good to see Sassy so fired up about it in one of the most liberal states. That's what we need. It doesn't need to be an Alabama problem or a Georgia problem or a Missouri problem. This is an everybody problem. And it's good to see that people are looking at it. Yeah,
and it's just so different around here because everybody supports it. You know, it's just so.
I mean, I couldn't imagine that, really. Like, to be, at least up here, you know, some people do, some people don't, but there are those people that don't, and you're not going to be looked at as an outcast, you know, for vocalizing it. To where I'm sure you have your friends, but you probably aren't going to be too forthcoming with the older crowd, you know, people that you should be able to trust and be able to speak to. It's a really sad thing. I couldn't imagine.
I'm back.
Well, I could imagine it because I lived it, but it was so long ago, it'd be hard to imagine.
Right.
Welcome back, Sassy. Yeah, we got about 9. We can go a little bit past 8, but not too much longer. I got to check on my daughter, but yeah, y'all continue. I'll be right back.
Oh, I'm trying to catch my breath because I had to quickly run outside. I have a tendency to hold my breath when I run or walk.
Man. So, okay. Are you originally from New Hampshire? Have you always lived there?
Yes, I was born and raised here. Yeah.
So are there a lot of like religious people there, or is it just kind of like?
It depends on which town you're in. There are some that have a lot of religious people, and the town that I'm in, there are Catholics, Episcopalians, and Methodists. That's it. And
so there's not like a lot of like Mormons or Muslims.
Well, I think there are a few. There's not that many Muslims around here. Well, in my town, but I see a lot of Mormon missionaries just like walking around town.
We have a Jehovah's Witness church.
Oh God.
near us, and the Jehovah's Witnesses will come and sit on campus, on the lawn of campus, and have their little bulletins out and, try to get people to talk to them. I've never seen them talk to anyone. I've only ever seen them talk to themselves.
We have everything but Jehovah's Witnesses here.
Actually, it really irritates us when sometimes there are Jehovah's Witnesses that come on our door and knock and want to talk about and convince us to become Jehovah's Witness. But there was one time, a long time ago when I was little, there was a few of them that came to my mom's house, and what they said to her? Her father has been passed away for a long time, so they told her that your father's in hell, and then she says, "Get out of my house right now. I don't want to ever see you again."
Wow.
Yeah.
And so it's just I don't have much experience with Jehovah's Witnesses, and I don't know a lot about that particular belief, but it's just I don't I haven't heard many good things about it.
Yeah, what I've learned has been from Telltale Atheist and Mr. Atheist, because we just don't have them around here. We had them when I lived down in North Carolina, but it was so long ago, and I just remember because we were Baptists, don't even step on our lawn. You're not wanted. Go.
See, I'm pretty different from you guys, because you both sound like you grew up very, very conservatively religious, and I come from a background where I went to a very progressive church, and I never thought being gay was wrong. I never thought it was an abomination
you were
against
lucky.
God.
How did that happen in Alabama?
There are some denominations that are very welcoming of all people. We'll have women pastors, and we would have.
Well, that's awesome, though. That's what we need.
Yeah.
We need more churches like that.
And so I come from this background where, I was never super duper hardcore, extremist religion or religious. And so all of this that y'all were talking about, I can't exactly relate to, because I never experienced that, because I never believed that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I grew up like that. But and what's funny was, because I was extremely religious to a point, because I always say I was an American religious guy, because my parents are more Baptist now than they were back then. They pretended to be Baptist because everybody was a Baptist around them, but we drank and smoked weed, but they hated gay people. My parents were never really racist. I had a racist phase. But I became extreme in my atheism at first, for quite a while. And it's been actually on this channel over the last year and a half that I've progressed out of that extremism. It's weird to even really think about it. Just it's almost like, you have those extreme beliefs in faith, and then you get those opposite extreme beliefs outside of faith. And it's taken me a while to kind of force myself somewhere in the middle.
Technically, I was raised. I grew up with religion, but I wasn't raised religiously. You know what I mean? Like, I had family members, a lot of them that were religious, and I was surrounded by them. So, and the only time I would go to church was around holidays, and so I was exposed to religion throughout my whole life, and as I got older, I dabbled in it more, and I learned more, and that's when my whole journey or struggle to figure out what I wanted to believe in happened.
Yeah. You'll figure it out, Sassy. It's all, life is a journey, and you're going to change so many times. It's going to, you won't recognize yourself. 10 years from now, you won't recognize the you that you are now. It's just a progression. We all grow.
And it's just I forgot what I was gonna say. Dang it! I forgot what I was gonna say.
I know. Before we go, Immutable Destiny made a really good point, and I wasn't gonna bring this up because I jumped into Dragnot server maybe about a week ago, and I must have jumped into a chat room full of right wingers because we were talking abortion and it didn't go very well. And I made this point, and really contested it, and I didn't really put up too much argument, but I'm going to make it again. And Immutable made it, and he's a really, really smart dude. He says, raging. The other thing you have to remember is fundamentalists do not consider the current rate of population growth to be an issue. Now, this is an argument that I brought up in that conversation, and they pretty much just dismissed it. But it seems to me, if you actually look at overpopulation, it is getting better now because of contraception and abortion. But if you look at overpopulation, you look at the lack of resources. This consumer society we live in has an expiration date. We are going to run out of food. You don't see it, but there is food shortages all across the country. We have climate change. We have all these issues. So to think that it's 73 Roe v. Wade was made legal. So to think for the past 40 to 50 years that legalized abortion has not helped with that problem is lunacy. And if you think that if they successfully are able to outlaw Roe v. Wade and make abortion illegal again, we are going to have serious population control problems here in this country.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But he made that point, and I was just like, good, because I knew I was right.
I just remembered I was going to say it was a continuation of what we were talking about like a minute ago. I remember when I was fairly new to atheism. It was just after I became an atheist. I went through a stage for a while where I felt like I basically had to. It felt like I was growing up again. Like I was going through the whole stages of trying to figure out what I liked and disliked for myself because of how much I let religion control my thinking. So I had to literally take so much time to find out what I believed and what I thought about situations and certain things. And I didn't like that whole process because it just felt uncomfortable. I felt ashamed of it, and it felt like I was just a preteen, like just starting to grow up and starting to find her way around the world and trying to figure out what.
Yeah, that's how it feels. I've seen your your videos, and you're being very honest and emotional, and I seen your interaction with Rachel Oates, and that's the only thing you can do, Sassy, is become that better person, recognize mistakes, and become better. And you're doing that. You're a step ahead of so many other people. It's insane.
Yeah, and I mean, I appreciate everyone who supports me, and it's not easy talking about everything that I've talked about because I'm ashamed because of what I used to preach about and what I used to believe, and I was ashamed that I had let it control me for so long, and I wasn't thinking for myself, and I wasn't just harming myself in the process. I was just also hurting others by my constant preaching and judging and trying to change who they are. And it's just, some of it is really hard to even talk about. Like in the video to Rachel Oates, that was like extremely hard. It took me about a year or a year or more to finally get the courage to talk about it, because I knew so many people knew her, and I was so afraid of what others are going to think about me, were going to say about me, or what was she going to think or say about me. And
see, most of us we can understand because we were there. You're blaming yourself for doing all those things, but it really wasn't you. It was your indoctrination. It was all the things that you learned that drove you to do that. You're finding yourself now, and you're taking different actions. That's what you should be proud of. Don't beat yourself up over what you did as an indoctrinated person inside of a cult. You can't do that. You're a rational human being now. You're getting more rational. You're making better choices. I would say be proud of yourself.
I'm gonna start.
I was gonna
crying.
say
I'm gonna start crying.
Well, don't start crying, because I'll start crying, and that's not good for my image.
The crying atheist.
I
Yeah.
was thinking that.
All right. Good conversation. I really enjoyed it. Star or Christy, you are welcome
Either
to come
one.
and have a conversation anytime you want. More than welcome. This was awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you so
It was
much.
so great to meet you.
Yeah, it was great. I just realized, all day long I knew I was going to do this today. I've known it for a few days, but I was doing this and I was doing that and I was doing this, and I finally got to my research and I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to do this. Great conversation though. I think we should definitely have another one. Once the story progresses a little bit, let's come back, revisit, and see where we're
Sure.
at. So I think that would be awesome.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. I'm gonna get out of here. Telltale Atheist is on Non Sequitur Show, so I'll be in the chat. I'll see you guys there. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.